Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. Children No More, Were, and Are Gone is an observational documentary short about a vigil that began in March of 2025 when a handful of women stood silently in a public square in Tel Aviv, each holding a photograph of a child that had been killed in Gaza. A simple act, and yet a very powerful statement. We're joined today by the director of Children No More, Were, and Are Gone, Hilla Medalia. Hilla, welcome to Cinemophile.
It's great to be here, and it's great to talk about our short. So important now the message for us, it's really like we're on the mission to make sure people know about it and see it.
It could not be more timely and apropos, and there's so many issues that are tied up in what your film is about. Looking forward to talking to you about it. Tell me a little bit about the inspiration. How did you begin this project?
With everything that is happening, that is so devastating, I kept on thinking, the only thing I know how to do is make films. And when I came across this vigil, I went to see it and I was so moved and inspired. It's really incredible to see how silent, no words can actually scream, and the effect of that, and how to some actually just simple act like showing compassion to a child that was killed is seemed like a betrayal. And I was so moved by it. And it became this thing that the crew and I went week after week to basically witness and film what was happening. And it was very strong. And I think it's like such a small thing to stand quietly with a picture of a child, but what happens around it and how it within this small story, I feel it talks about the polarization within society and how it's so tough to talk, to listen, and to discuss anything related to the Gaza war and how tense it is. And of course, in Israel, but everywhere else as well.
What was the moment for you when you realized that you had to do this, that you had to document what was going on?
First of all, since October 7, I've been doing a lot of work on different things, but always focused on what's the message that I want to tell and what's the story of this war that I think is important for me to tell and what the effect of a film can have. And I think that when I just saw this video for the first time, I knew I really want to tell that story and to witness, and I needed to get it out really quickly
Hmm.
because I think that in a way we decided not to focus so much on the activists, but more on the children, and to give their voice. And it's really important to say that we don't see what you see outside of Israel. Like there is a real heavy self-censorship in the media in Israel, and we're really not exposed to what's happening in Gaza in the same way that people outside of Israel seeing. So I think that's a really important message that, to understand that news is not balanced and news is very, framed. And you can see by the reaction of people when they see those pictures of kids, how it make them upset and how really they see these activists as this act of compassion as a betrayal. So that's one aspect of it. And the other thing is this activist suffered and went through a lot in October 7. It hit really close. And if they're able to look at the others and to feel this compassion and to do this act, I'm hoping that it will allow others to do the same, because we should all be able to know and to fight for kids to not die and for, this thing that has happened to stop.
You, in a way, answered my next question as to what are your expectations for the Israeli audience that I'm sure you're hoping to reach?
So I think the film is intended to both international audience and Israeli audience, and it would do different things in different places, but also there are some similarities. And I think for the international audience wide, from Jewish and quote unquote pro-Israeli to realize that there are Israelis that are able to look, and that would allow them to also feel compassion for Palestinian life that are lost, not only for their own people. I think that for, anyone else, it's like we should all feel this global, feeling and empathy to, loss and to pain. And I think in Israel, it's gonna be probably, the film has yet to screen in Israel. I mean, we raced to finish it. We showed it, the premiere doc, and we will also show it in Israel. And I'm sure it will create a lot of friction and tension and challenge to people to even just look at this picture of these kids. But when we were at Doc NYC, I like to quote we came with two of the activists, and they said that sometimes even within their family, people don't think like them, and it's so challenging, it's so heated, and they're trying to really not get upset and take it in and still force them to look at these kids in their eyes, and hopefully one day something will change and their family members will have a political aura and they will understand that this shouldn't be. So I think that I'm coming to it locally
Mhm.
with that, that I know it's gonna be hard, but it's so important. And I think that, it's so hard to think that what's happening in Gaza is happening on our name. It's so hard. And the easiest way, and it's actually one of the activists say it in the film, the easiest way is to denial and to put a mask on your face and to just not look. And I think that locally our goal is to force people to look
Yeah.
and to recognize the pain of the other and to show compassion.
I don't know exactly how to ask this question. I'm just formulating it in my mind as we speak, because when you are showing the impact that a war, every war has on children, it's hard to argue that that's immoral. It's immorally wrong for a child to suffer at the hands of an adult or an adult world, et cetera, et cetera. That just goes without saying. It happens. It's a fact of war. It's a fact of life when you're engaged in conflict. But the other part of it is there a reluctance, given what happened on October 7th, given the existential threat that so often feels like that Israel is in the midst of its existence, or so much that it's been over the history of the state of Israel that is so fraught with this idea that it could be catastrophic if something doesn't go the way that it should go for us. Does it make that much more difficult, or how much more difficult does it make it to kind of step back and say this is unacceptable for children to die at this rate, at the amount of people that are children that are dying? Am I making sense? And I'm trying to get to the essence of how difficult is it to recognize that for people in Israel to sort of pull themselves away from the
Of
existence of
course,
the
it's
state of
difficult.
yeah, okay, okay, go
Of
ahead.
course, it's difficult and it's so emotional and so painful, and
Yeah.
there is anger and there is so much emotion. But I really think that we only keep proving that, this constant, never-ending war is not bringing anything good. And October 7 was a disaster and it was a trauma and was so painful for Israelis. And of course, this war has been horrific for Palestinians. And right now, I mean, there is a ceasefire, but there are still people dying in the
Right.
West Bank and Gaza weekly, and the vigil unfortunately has to continue. And they are continuing. And tomorrow they're standing in the center of Tel Aviv, and they to call to stop. And yes, the rate of death has changed, but people are still dying, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really solve this long-lasting conflict. So it's about time that we are looking at the result of this war and understanding, yes, it's hard, but it doesn't do anything except of
Yeah.
more hate, more life lost, more children that have no childhood
Yeah.
and would never grow.
Where where did the title for the film come from?
So on every poster of a child, they have these two lines that are actually biblical. One is that, and I'm translating it from Hebrew, so forgive me for the bad translation. The first one is involve against their will or unwillingly involve. So that's one thing. And the second thing is under their name and the dates and the place they
Right.
were killed, they always say, or actually before that, they have their name and then they say was and is gone, where and are gone, which is actually a biblical statement for someone usually young that kind of unexpectedly perished.
Mhm.
And actually the activists are using it, and it's in Hebrew, it's Hayu Ve'inam, basically where and are no more. And it's very strong. And so originally we thought to call the film Where and Are No More, but it was very complex and vague. So we decided to simplify it by Children No More. But then, I really insisted on the Where and Are No More to be part of the title. And it's something that keep coming in the film. So basically we really try to focus on the children and to give them the space within the film and within the silence vigil that we try to actually really make the audience feel the strength of the silence. And we in each child we have the name, the age, and this statement where and are gone or was and is gone.
Yeah, it's very powerful. It does remind me, and I'm sure they would acknowledge this as well, the women of Argentina who stood in the town square to essentially bear witness to the disappearance of so many of their own. It's a very, especially when women are involved. It's so powerful. It's hard ascribe anything other than the sheer humanity of what they're attempting to do, and very powerful. What did you learn about the people who are doing this in terms of that maybe have surprised you a little bit or gave you hope?
So within the film, we tried not to focus so much on the activists. So we focus more on the children. But I can tell you that these activists are doing so much incredible work, and the vigil is part of a much larger work that they're doing. For example, one of them, Alma Beck, that was in New York with us in the premiere, she goes every weekend to the West Bank, to El Khair, which is Masfariata area close to Hebron, where there is a lot of settler violence on a weekly basis. So she is very active there, and they're doing a lot of other very, very important projects. Vigil is one project that they're doing. But what's incredible is that also the vigil itself is not connected to any large organization. It was really natural, very organic, especially women who basically came together to express their pain, and they decided to do it in this silent vigil, and it grew and grew and grew. And now there are over 1,000. And as I said earlier, they continue doing it till not only ceasefire, but actually the violence that is still happening in the West Bank and Gaza stops. So the vigil continues, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately, but it's heartening to see that it is not political, that this they've gone to lengths to make sure that it's not seen as anything that it is what it is. It is a testament. It's a living testament to the loss of life.
But still, you can see how much anger it
No,
creates
yeah,
and
yeah,
how people respond to it, even though they really just have simply a picture of a child and quiet without saying anything. And I think it's just really unbelievable that that's what's happening. But hopefully it will grow and people will be able to look at these children and to understand that this is wrong.
Before I let you go, Hilla Medalia, I want to talk about the reaction at Doc NYC. I hope you were encouraged by what happened while you were there, and how did it go?
Yeah, so far it's only screened at Doc NYC and then on the Academy screening room and some other more industry-based events. And we're getting strong response from people who really it gives them license to passion, um, to people who are really moved by the understanding. It gives them hope that something can change, that not every Israeli is supportive of, Netanyahu and this extreme right-wing, very violent government, and that so there have been different reactions that we're getting, but really, really strong and emotional, pretty much all together. Also, I have to admit that some people it was hard for them. I mean, but I think that's okay because I feel that if they're able to watch the whole film, and again, just like the vigil, even when it's so hard to passerby when they see those pictures, I think the fact that they see them, hopefully we slowly make a crack and they will be able to actually have a crack in their denial.
Hmm.
And I think that's the denial and not looking is what's really dangerous.
Well, congratulations on the film. Congratulations on the courage, and I mean that courage to continue to move forward with this, and the courage of these women who are doing what they do. There's a lot of silent, not looking for attention kind of actions and being present, if you will, being there to do what they're doing without any expectations other than to make people aware of what it is and hope, as you said, hope for a different outcome moving forward for hundreds of thousands of children who are currently in Gaza. Thank you for Children No More, Where and Are Gone. We've been speaking with the director, Hilla Medalia. I want to thank you so very much for your time today and really appreciate it. I hope you'll come back with whatever you're working on next. And thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.